and they were pressing against my skin, and I could feel the pressure of them pressing, and it was painful. But it was, seeing the lumps come up on one finger and then another. And so I couldn't hide that. And so the secret, whatever secret I was protecting under the ground or in my body, was starting to push towards the surface in the dream. And then the pain in my hand got so bad that I couldn't stand it anymore. And I began to throw up. So I began vomiting up the body. So the body that was underground became part of me. It was pushing through my skin, and then it started coming out my mouth. Yeah, gross, right? And I could feel it, and it was so visceral in my dream. And so I was vomiting up just like thick, gross bits, which included like chunks of flesh and bone that I had to like reach into my mouth and grab and pull out. And it was like green and really thick and gross. And then what else? I'm looking at what I wrote here. Oh yeah. Okay, so I'm vomiting up this body, and the whole time that I'm doing it, I'm feeling better. Each time I pull something out of my mouth, I feel better, because I know that the end is coming. Right? As soon as this stops, when you get ill and you're like, oh my God, I know, just if I throw up, everything is going to kind of settle down, go back to normal. I'll stop sweating. So I was just happened to be throwing up a dead body. That's cool. And so my only concern in the dream was, now I'm throwing it up and I'm feeling like, okay, this is good. This is progress. Like, get this out. But then I'm going to have to clean it up. Right? And the mess is going to be the next issue. And this is significant, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But also, at the same time, in the same dream, I had this vision of a storefront, and it was a furniture store, and I went into the furniture store, and there were couches and chairs, and it was like set up like a showroom. And the store owner it was like the store was closed, and the store owner had a dog in there, and the dog was on the couch. And I remember thinking that, he has a dog on the couch that he's selling to people. And, that can't be right. You can't sell people furniture that's been, had a dog on it. And so it made me feel better that store owner had his own secret. Like, he was keeping his dirty dog, or letting his dog get on the couches that he was selling. Silly, totally silly, right? But these are dreams. But in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm not the only one who's hiding something. And so to get back to the bit, let me turn the page here. I haven't read this in a while. I just had this dream not too long ago, but I haven't read it. And I don't really remember this part, because I wrote down the dream when I was still half asleep. Okay. All right. I don't remember this part as vividly, but I wrote down that I was hosing off the basement and the shed, and I had belongings that were the dead man's, or the dead body that had come out of my mouth. I had some of that person's, I say he, but I don't know. I had some of his belongings that I was now separating and sorting and just trying to, just protect the secret that I had. And it also, I had walked down to a bus stop after all that in my dream, got into a clean car and changed my clothes. But in the back of my head, I knew that there was still going to be consequences. But the fear of reprisal was so much lighter than holding the secret. So when I had that dream and I woke up from it, I was a holy shit feeling, like, oh my God, that says so much. And I've had other dreams similar to that. And I had another one that I can just tell you without looking at what I wrote down, because I've written about it. I've written about it. It was one where I was walking just down a road, and on the side of the road, there was a rat, like a dead rat. You imagine seeing roadkill, right? Seeing roadkill like 3 days after it's been hit. It's on the side of the road. So I see a rat that looks sort of like the vision that I just gave you, but it's died and decayed because it has a tree root that is going across its neck and pinning it to the ground. And in the dream, I see this and I feel sadness. And this rat is dead because it is stuck underneath. It's been trapped. And I'm with someone else in the dream. And I ask that person, because I could see that the rat has still had life, which was like nearly impossible. But this is a dream. I mean, it was like decaying and gross and, dried blood, but the body was still alive and the head was dead. I mean, the eyes were like totally gone. And I got down real close to it and looked at it and left it. Came back to it and noticed that the body had healed itself and there was more life coming into the body, but it was still pinned. And so I turned and asked the person I was with, and this is a significant person, asked that person if I should free it. And I got real close. Like the main point is that I got so close to the blood and the gore, like it didn't bother me. All I knew is I needed to cut that root. If that rat is still alive, then I've got to free it. It needs to be free. It's coming back to life. And the significant person said, don't. And so I woke up without cutting that root away. So essentially, not freeing that wild animal from that death trap. And that, and dreams are weird, man. They're weird. Because if I was writing a story and I wanted to have, some archetypal stuff going on in the background, that's really intriguing. And that stuff resonates with everyone. The way I would write the story is that, or the way I thought about the dream was that wild animal, that wild being that we all have inside of us, in many of us, it is forced into submission and caged. And then it's mistreated and malnourished to the point of death. And so this rat, to me, was my inner wild being, choked and left for dead And I could look right into its face, which was disgusting and decaying, and could see the light and the life still there, and walking away from it. And how many times we walked away from who we are, or, that's a really large statement, but, maybe you're not there yet to understand what I'm saying, but how many times have we turned our backs on what we really truly want because it just doesn't line up with the social pressure around us. So that's what I saw the rat as symbolizing, that wild nature, what my inner soul wants to do. And I turned my back and I walked away. But as I walked away, and in my real life, I was working at trying to get some of that flame to come back. I'm blowing oxygen, blowing on the fire. And when I came back to the rat, and the rat had gained some life and healed, the head had healed, and the eyes were no longer, just dried up sockets. They were shiny black eyeballs. And the body was breathing and it was moving. But that root was still across its neck. And so I had a choice during that dream. And this was a couple of years ago, I don't know, maybe 3 years ago. I had a choice in that moment as I watched that rat come back to life. Do I free it and let it run? Get away, just get out of that situation. And the person I turned to ask was my mother in the dream. And I should have asked myself because I knew what I would do. But I asked someone else. And they said no. And I left it. I walked away without freeing it. I had a knife in my hand and everything. I left it. And so that's just a dream, right? It's not real. How many times have we seen potential in ourselves or known that something was right for us, looked to the left and looked to the right to ask the folks around us, and have gone against our instinct and turned our back on ourself? How many times have you done that? I've done it a ton. I still do it, but not as much. So I'll always think of those visions from my dreams, especially the one with the rat, because that one I had a long time ago and I've written about it at length and thought about it. But the other one with the dead body, burying it, hiding it, protecting it, getting irritated when people came near it, and then going through, in the dreamscape anyway, the process of processing it and eliminating it, and then having to deal with the aftermath. I mean, when you face something head on and bring it out into the open, it doesn't go away. It's like imagine taking, a block of ice, or let's say an ice sculpture that's hidden away. And then you bring it out into the sunlight and it melts and it's gone, but there's a puddle of water left. You still got to deal with that shit, man. I guess, and that's the point. So I think a lot of times we keep all that stuff hidden away. I guess I'm coming full circle back, or not full circle, but it's a spiky circle. a lot of crisscrossing lines, but coming back